Hey everybody, it's Will from the Duelists, bringing you guys a new video talking about the new Valkyrie support that's going to be coming out in a future set. So for those who aren't aware, Konami actually released a basically a new set that will be branching the new Valkyrie cards. And for those who don't know, Valkyrie cards are basically the cards that were used by Siegfried von Schroeder in like Season 5 of Yu-Gi-Oh! And so I do consider it like legacy support, and like for those who follow this channel earnestly, like pretty much every Deck Pro Live profile I've made on this channel has been legacy support. And so pretty excited when I heard about this announcement. They also are making some Duke Devlin cards too, so I kind of like the direction that they're going with a lot of this stuff. But basically, what I wanted to do is, since Konami has not released any of the effects of the new monsters yet, what the purpose of this video is going to be is basically like a speculation video. Basically looking at like each card, how they're used, how they were used in the anime, because Konami said that they were going to at least make the cards true to how they were in the anime, but also adapted to today's game. And so we're basically going to go over each card, how it worked in the anime, and then how it could possibly, work in today's game, and possible speculations on how they're going to change the cards. So, first we'll start out with basically the general strategy of the deck, and then I'll go into each specific card and tell you how that facilitates that. So, you could kind of characterize Siegfried's deck as like a control style deck. A lot of the cards basically were centered around looking at your opponent's like top 3 cards of the deck, rearranging them in an order that would be advantageous to you, and then your cards would basically make it to where as soon as they draw a monster, it goes to the graveyard. As soon as you get to declare a card name on the top of their deck, they have to play it because you get to see it, and then if you call it right, it gets banished. So on top of that, it also focuses on summoning the Valkyrie monsters, who also have effects to banish, as well as a couple of other things. But basically, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with the monsters. So there's 4 main Valkyrie monsters that Siegfried has, and they all had different effects in the game. So we'll start off with Valkyrie Erst, I believe is how you say it, Valkyrie Erst. And basically, it's kind of decent. Like the thing is, like in the show, all his monsters had like super high levels and like terrible stats. So it's a level 6, 1600 attack, 1800 defense. But basically, once per turn, it can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. And if you do, the attack of this card becomes that of monster's original attack for the end phase. So you could target, like, I don't know, a Blue Eyes White Dragon in somebody's graveyard, and this thing will have 3000 attack. And then the other one, probably the best one, is probably Valkyrie Zwei, or Swide, I don't know how you pronounce that. I think it's German, so I'm not exactly sure. But if it's summoned, upon summon, it gets a pop card. So immediately, kind of like a Dark Destroyer effect, jumps on the field, pops a card, yeah. And then you have also Valkyrie Dreet, I believe. It gains 100 attack for each banished monster, but it only has 1000 attack, so it's kind of terrible. And then you also have I guess his boss monster, Valkyrie Brunhilde, and it basically gains 300 attack for each dragon type and warrior type monster on the field, and then it also, if it would be destroyed by battle, you could just make it lose 1000 defense. So basically, you could make it indestructible by battle twice, like total. So yeah. So basically, the way these monsters function with the deck is that Zwei or Zweit, I don't know, would banish a card. I'm sorry, would destroy a card. This guy would trigger and banish that card and gain attack, and then this card would gain attack just for having banished monsters. That's how the 3 Valkyrie monsters would combo. Is that going to be good in today's game? Not really. And the reason why is you basically wanted to like swarm the field with them, with a card called Ride of the Valkyries, which basically makes you best for summon all the Valkyrie cards in your hand, but they get returned to the deck at the end phase. So you basically, it's like a shitty pendulum summon, and then you summon all your Valkyries who go off on their effects, but they don't, like, you're going to maybe inflict maybe 4000 damage total that turn, assuming that your opponent didn't have anything else in any back row, and they all go back to the deck. So the card is kind of like a go in, go ham, and try to, OTK and stuff like that. But if you don't, you nag like crazy. And like I said, the Valkyrie cards, their effects are just kind of lackluster, and their levels are super high and not justified for their stats. So I think the first thing that Konami can fix is make like the two Valkyries a lower level, like level 4 easily. And then I don't know about you, but I don't like the way they function in terms of like I understand that they're supposed to like, work with each other, but the Valkyrie's why I feel like if she gets special summoned, she gets to banish a card. And I would even argue that you don't even have to target. Maybe target, but like otherwise. And I would also argue that you don't even have to. It doesn't have to be a monster. I understand that kind of focuses on the center of the deck, but the card, jumping on the field and popping a monster is pretty good. But I feel like the deck is more focusing on banishing from the begin with. So I feel like if she hits the field, maybe you'll have to normal summon or two to get that effect. I don't know. Well, no, you should be able to like get that effect regardless. If she hits the field, she should be able to target a card and banish it. This other guy, he should also be able to target monsters in the graveyard and banish them and gain attack. But I also think that it's kind of a lackluster effect for a level 6 monster. Make him level 4. And then for the Valkyrie Dreet, gain more attack than 100. Like, she starts off with 1,000 attack, and that's really not that good. She should be able to get more attack off that. And then for Brunhilde, maybe you make her a higher level, but like give her a better effect. Maybe make her gain attack, and then also have the ability to banish or something like that. And then just make her indestructible by battle, period. Like, if you're going to make her indestructible by battle. But maybe she can maintain her high level as long as there's an easier way of summoning her, such as through the Rite of the Valkyries. But also, there needs to be cards that search these things out. So you could have a Rite of the Valkyries, but if you don't have these cards in your hand, it's not necessarily going to be good. So possibly get these guys away being searched to the hand, as opposed to just drawing them by luck. So, next card we talk about is called Goddess Erda's Guidance. So it's basically discard one spell, then target one trap card in your graveyard, set it. It's generic, but it's also terrible. So I don't really see how that card would be really even functioning, or why anybody would even want to run it. But yeah, I I don't see. Maybe they'll change that towards a search card. But yeah, so the other interesting cards to talk about are basically Nibelung's Ring and Nibelung's Treasure. So Nibelung's Treasure allows you to search out Nibelung's Ring, and then Nibelung's Ring, you basically equip it to your opponent's monster. They cannot attack, and then you get to draw 5 cards. So no way, you're not going to be able to draw 5 cards. That's just broken, and it's generic. Everybody would run this as a tech, because Nibelung's Ring isn't even that bad. So the way Nibelung's Ring works is basically you equip it. It's an equip spell. You equip it to your opponent's monster, and it basically makes it to where they get to draw 2 cards at their draw phase as opposed to 1 every draw phase. But if they draw a monster, it's immediately sent to the graveyard, which is pretty good because we'll talk about how a lot of the cards are rearranging your opponent's deck to where it comes to your advantage, so you can make it to where they do draw a monster. That way it goes sent immediately to the graveyard, similar to the way the like Crush card or Full Fires or anything like that works. The thing about Nibelung's Treasure is no way you should not be able to draw cards. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the monster wearing Nibelung's Ring does not get to attack. So you basically equip it to one of their monsters. It can't attack. They get to draw 2 at their draw phase every turn, but if they draw a monster, it gets immediately sent to the graveyard. And if you activate Nibelung's Treasure, you get to equip an opponent's monster directly from your deck and draw 5 cards. Maybe they'll make it to where you can equip it directly to the deck from the deck, but I don't know. You should not be able to draw 5 cards. Maybe they'll like alleviate that by being able to search out 3 Valkyries, or maybe being able to search out 2 or something like that. Make it at least a +1. If you're giving your opponent 2 cards at each of their draw phase, I feel like you're going to at least make it a +1 or +2 or something like that. So maybe you'll be able to search out some Valkyries. You should not be able to draw 5 cards, though. If that were the case, everybody's going to run this as a tech. because that's just unheard of. Jesus, like you haven't seen that kind of draw power since like Sixth Sense, which is crazy. But yeah, so Nibelung's Treasure, Nibelung's Ring. I don't necessarily see those as cards that are going to have the exact enemy effect. I like if they make it to where Nibelung's Ring gets equipped to the opponent's monster. They can't attack. They should also have their effects negated. You can still do that whole draw two phase at the draw phase, and then send to the graveyard. But anything beyond that, no. Like I feel like that's a reasonable justification for you to be able to use that card. Another card that Siegfried uses is called the Mischief of the Time Goddess, which honestly he kind of uses like a quick play in the show. Um, or unless he might have used it in M2, I don't know. But basically, there's no way this card is going to have this effect. They're going to have to alleviate that or something like that. But in the effect, it like lets you skip your opponent's turn, and then it becomes the battle phase of your turn on the next turn, which is like unheard of. No way. Like freaking, if we already have Time Seal banned, there's no way that Mischief of the Goddess is going to have that kind of effect in the actual real life. Maybe they'll make this like a quick play or something like that to maybe skip your opponent's main phase 1, possibly, and make them go into battle phase directly. That would be kind of interesting. But there's no way that it's going to make them skip an entire turn or something like that. So, yeah, I don't see that working out that way. All right, so the next 3 cards we get into are pretty much the main 3 of the way in which you're going to possibly see these cards integrated into a deck strategy. So they're called the goddesses, and so there's like the goddess of future in the show. They refer to them as the goddess of future, the goddess of the present, and the goddess of the past. So one being the graveyard, one being the hand, and one being the field. So when you look at they all kind of combo with each other. So goddess of skulls oracle says that once per turn you can look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and return them in the top of the deck in any order you so choose. And then you basically, with Goddess of Vernian's Guidance, you basically declare the top card of the deck, and if you do, your opponent has to set it to their side of the field, and then if it's Goddess of Erd, makes it to where if you declare that card type's name correctly, it gets banished immediately. So that is an interesting aspect, and I do like that they make it to where you can like target monsters, spells, and traps. For example, if you see your opponent's going to draw like Raigeki or Pot of Desires or like a really big power card, you can basically make it to where that becomes the top card of their deck. Then you can use Verdant's Guidance to basically make it to where you declare that card, and then it gets set, and then you basically banish it. With Verdants, but also enables you to rearrange the top of their deck to where they might dead draw. So it's a good card. I think it's a good system. The only thing I don't like about it is that every single one of them is useless if you don't have all 3. Because unless you're playing like Spirals or something like that, and because this deck kind of does function a lot like Spirals. Like I feel like Spirals may be like inspired off of them. You need all 3 for that strategy to be effective, and they're 3 continuous spells. So 3 out of your 5 slots are already be occupied by stuff to where you necessarily won't be able to run. And then that's not even including the Nibelung's Ring that you equip to an opponent's monster. So 4 out of your 5 spell and trap slots are going to be taken up by engine cards. And that's susceptible, like evenly matched and things like that. Although they could prevent you from using the evenly matched with the goddess cards, I guess. But they got to find a way of fixing that. Like, they need to make it maybe all in one card, which seems a little bit too OP, but like maybe in order to fulfill the requirements, you have to have like a certain amount of Valkyrie cards on the field. But that would be an interesting thing, is that if you make it one continuous spell as opposed to all 3, I understand that it's supposed to fit the goddess thing of like the show and how it worked in the show, but make it to where it's not going to be, because all these cards are not necessarily bad. But they're all bad because they require other things to be good. I mean, that's why some decks struggle, is because they need like a 3-card combo. A 3-card combo that's not searchable is kind of bad. So maybe make it to where it's all included in one card, but you have to have a certain amount of Valkyries, and it is searchable. First of all, they're going to need a searcher card. There's no way they're going to be able to pull off any of these things because, like I said, it's a very combo-based deck. You have to have, like, basically it's not going to win on its own. Yeah, There's also one other card that I forgot to put up here. It's called Wutan's Judgment. It's kind of like a bad negate attack. So like when an opponent's monster declares an attack, switch the top card of the deck with a spell in your hand, then shuffle your deck, negate the attack, and end the battle phase. Just run negate attack. I think it's a bad card. I don't think they're gonna actually make it. So yeah, but also, like I said, there's another card that makes it to where their monster, it's like a sword or something like that. I forget the exact name, but it basically makes it to where their opponent, one of their Valkyrie monsters, gains 500 attack for every banished monster. Now, the thing about that is that it's decent. Maybe it'll power up their Valkyrie cards to like 3,000, 4,000, but I don't know. Like I said, too many of these cards are like, you're basically thinking a best case scenario when it comes to some of these cards. So hopefully they design a way in which they can be more efficient at doing so. So what do I think about the cards? I think they can be changed a little bit to fit today's game. Basically, Ride of the Valkyries is a crappy pendulum summon that gets shuffled back in the deck at the end phase. They need to fix that. Don't make it to where they're shuffled back. And then if they can possibly make a way to where these cards are searchable, that would make it a lot better. Otherwise, Ride of the Valkyries is kind of bad because unless you have a lot of Valkyries in your hand, it's not that great. I do like the Nibelung's Ring and the Nibelung's Treasure. Don't make it to where they draw 5. That's just kind of broken. And then possibly if they make it to where the monster can't attack into skill drain, that'd be kind of cool. And then still apply the whole, being able to like immediately send a monster to the graveyard if it's drawn. Or possibly like a spell or trap. Maybe you can make it to where you can declare that. That'd be kind of cool. As far as the goddess cards, like I said, 3 cards is very hard to, maintain, like especially if they're not searchable. So maybe if they make them at least searchable or like play them directly from the deck, like Altergeist or something like that, that would be, more advantageous. That way you at least have access because all of them are kind of useless without the other 3. And then finally, there's also a card called Golden Castle of Stromberg that he uses in the show. And it basically makes it where you can special summon any level 4 low monster from your deck. I don't know about that. It also can't be destroyed by spells, monster traps, but you can banish it. So like Dragon Spirit of White or Cosmic Cyclone or Trishula's can get rid of it and stuff like that. I don't know if this technically wasn't a Siegfried card. I don't know if they're gonna make a retrained version, but it'd be kind of cool if this helps you with your engine and being able to get the Valkyrie cards and stuff like that. So I don't know. That was just my 2 cents on the possible support and basically how the cards function in the deck in the anime. Let me guys know what you think about the new Valkyrie cards, how you think they're going to function. Do you think they're going to function similar to the show, or do you think that each monster is going to have different stats, different levels? Let me know. And then if you're new to the channel and you've liked the Legacy support news, feel free to like and subscribe for more, guys. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.